is 21.33, higher than the fiscal year 2025 budget as appropriated. The proposed budget will cover personal services or PS, maintenance and operating expenses or MOOE, and capital outlay. For the PS, the recommended budget for fiscal year 2026 is 212,538,000, which is 23.54% of the total budget. The amount is higher by 12.14% than the fiscal year 2025 PS level. Personal services cover salaries, benefits, and allowances of 162 filled positions. It also includes the special duty allowance for military and uniformed personnel and salary for non-permanent positions. The total proposed PS budget, including retirement and life insurance premiums or RLIP, is 212,538,000. For the MOOE, the recommended budget is 673,753,000, which is 74.62% of the total budget. The amount is based on the DBM Tier 1 MOOE level of 654,527,000, plus additional Tier 2 requests of 19,226,000 for the information and communication technology or ICT related expenses in line with the DICT endorsed Information Systems Strategic Plan or ISSP. The MOOE includes the allocations of the following: supplies and materials, as well as financial assistance subsidies, which are intended for goods and grants that will be directly received by the OVP target beneficiaries or clients. Travel and representation expenses to support the operational needs of the OVP in implementing its programs and projects, including its ceremonial and executive functions. And for the provisions of professional services and rent lease expenses to cover the service fees of contract of service personnel, IT-related consultancy services as per the ISSP, and the operational needs of OVP central and satellite offices. As for the capital outlay, the total budget is 1.84% of the total recommended budget, or equivalent to 16.6 million. The recommended capital outlay covers the procurement of various information and communication technology outlays consistent with the ISSP. By appropriation source, the amount under agency-specific budget is 889,236,000 and 13,695,000 under automatic appropriations for the RLIP. Of the total amount of 902,895,000 under the fiscal year 2026 National Expenditure Program, 275,183,000 or 30.5% is allotted for various goods and grants under socio-economic programs of the OVP, which will directly benefit Filipinos. This excludes the logistics and other costs which are necessary to implement the programs. This is presenting the comparative budget of the OVP from 2020 to 2025 under the GAA and 2026 under the NEP. So in 2020, the budget was 708,019,000. In 2021, the budget was 908,790,000.
Pecha de peligro? Delikado? Relax ka lang. Di ka na ipit-pag-ipit with G-Credit. Itawid natin yung essentials mo. Buksan ang GCash. Itap ang borrow, tapos G-Credit. Kung eligible ka, may credit limit kang up to 50,000. Ayos, di ba? Pwedeng-pwede pang grocery o bills. As low as 1.70 pesos daily interest lang kada 1,000 pesos. Mas mura pa sa candy. Pay later dahil pwedeng bayaran on or before the due date. Pag di pa kaya ng buo, pwedeng 10% muna para magaan sa bulsa. Tuwing nagigipit, may tatawid natin yan with G-Credit.
That the budget exceeded 1 billion pesos, primarily due to increased allocations for financial assistance and subsidy to support the provision of medical and burial assistance. For fiscal year 2025, the OVP budget returned to its pre-2023 levels with 744,015,000 allocated for 2025. The same budget level is maintained under the proposed 2026 budget with adjustments for inflation, including the mandated salary increases. Since 2020, and even with higher budgets in 2023 and 2024, the OVP was able to maintain a high full-year budget utilization or obligation rate of at least 85.55% at end year. Presented is the comparison between the 2025 and 2026 budgets under GAA and under NEP. The net increase of 158,749,000 is attributable to the following: personal services increase of 21,313,000 due to increase in number of field positions from 149 to 162, and the corresponding standard salary increases across all items. MOOE items with a total increase of 174,521,000 is for supplies and materials expenses. This is the increase in the provision for disaster relief and the RICE programs, the financial assistance and subsidies for the Magnegosyo Taday program, the professional services, provision for existing contract of service personnel, the rent and lease expenses, and there is a reduction of 28,085,000 for representation expenses to partially support the requirement for PS. For capital outlay, there is a decrease in the amount of 39,796,000 in fiscal year 2026. In fiscal year 2026, included a lower portion for ICT equipment. In addition, fiscal year 2025 included budget for purchase of 4 motor vehicles and other machinery and equipment. There's also an increase in 2.7 million in retirement and life insurance premiums, which is mandatory under the GSIS contributions. So these are the accomplishments of the Office of the Vice President. As the second highest office in the land, the OVP aims to promote the welfare of every Filipino in line with its vision to create lasting impact on the lives of every Filipino people through its socio-economic programs and services. Since 2022, the OVP has implemented the following programs: the Pagbabago, a Million Learners and Trees campaign, the disaster response operations, relief for indigents and individuals in crisis and emergencies or RICE, You Can Be VP, Libreng Sakay, Kalusugan Food Trucks and Pansarap, Magnegosyo Taday, and the medical and burial assistance. The OVP programs are implemented in the central office and through 10 satellite offices and 1 extension office, which continue to operate in key areas in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao to provide Filipinos with immediate access to the services provided by the Office of the Vice President. In Luzon, we have the Cagayan Valley Satellite Office located in Kawayan City? Kawayan City, Isabela. In Pangasinan Satellite Office, we have the office located in Dagupan City. And for the Bicol Satellite Office, we have the office in Legazpi City. In Visayas, for the Cebu, Bohol, and Siquijor Satellite Office, it is located in Cebu City. And for Eastern Visayas Satellite Office, it is located in Tacloban City. And for the Panay and Negros Islands Satellite Office, it is located in Bacolod City. And in Mindanao, for the Caraga Satellite Office, it is located in Butuan City. In Southern Mindanao, it is located in Davao City. And for BARM, it is in Cotabato City. And for Western Mindanao, it is in Zamboanga City. For fiscal year 2024, the OVP had a target of 1,013,620 beneficiaries for all the programs, and a total of 1,780,079 individuals and groups were served. The high performance was achieved with the help of 470 strategic partnerships that were established with government agencies, civil society organizations, medical institutions, and other external stakeholders. Likewise, the OVP successfully implemented 99% of all planned projects and achieved a high average satisfaction rating of 98% for its services, including the requests acted upon within the standard processing time. Finally, the office completed a total of 490 engagements with partners and stakeholders. As to the financial targets in 2024, the OVP obligation rate was above the 85% mark. The OVP had 85.55% budget utilization rate with 1.783 billion amounts obligated, and with a disbursement rate of 86.03% or 1.53 billion disbursed. For fiscal year 2025, the OVP has continued the implementation of its flagship programs designed to provide the Filipino people with access to basic social services, with a target of 1,047,935 beneficiaries for the year, a total of 595,757 individuals, or 57% of the target, were served across all OVP programs and services during the semester. The OVP has also established 242 partnerships to support the development and implementation of its various initiatives. Notably, the OVP successfully implemented 100% of planned projects encompassing activities such as social preparation, technical assistance, and program implementation. Furthermore, the OVP achieved an average satisfaction rating of 97% for its services, exceeding the target of 90%. In addition, the office completed a total of 770 engagements with partners and stakeholders, further strengthening collaboration and support for its programs. As of June 30, 2025, the OVP has 756.33 million total release allotments and a continuing appropriation equivalent to 147.1 million, totaling the available allotment for the year to 903.43 million. For the first semester, the OVP has already obligated 34.3% of the available allotment received, equivalent to 309.69 million, and with a disbursement rate of 66.8% or 206.83 million. Although the current rate of 34.3% falls short of the mid-year target, the OVP's mid-year utilization rate remains consistent with previous years, which are below 50%, since some of the OVP programs are implemented only in the second semester of the year, such as the Pagbabago program, wherein bag distributions are made after the opening of the school year, and activities for disaster response, which are usually during the typhoon season starting July, and some procurements are ongoing. With these, the OVP remains on track in maintaining an obligation rate above 85% by year-end, as has been achieved in prior years. The OVP holds a distinct position in our bureaucracy. As the second highest office in the land, the OVP carries out functions that complement the work of other government agencies while advancing the well-being of the Filipino people. The proposed 902.895 million for fiscal year 2026 budget for the OVP will help us continue with our mission to deliver efficient, accessible, and responsive public service for the good of all Filipinos. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Dito sa Buenas, safe and secure ang bawat transactions mo. May 24/7 customer service pa. Kaya kung pagiging legit lang ang pag-uusapan, i-Buenas na yan!
Looking at the data to include automatic appropriations, the increase of the OVP budget is only by 1.3%. I'll just flash the slide. No? So if you count in the increases in inflation, increase in salary, the total increase of the OVP budget is only 1.3%. Kaya ang tawag ko nga dito, bare basic budget for the Office of the Vice President. And let me also commend and express my support to some of the programs of the OVP. One of the programs na alam ko mahalaga sa mga kababayan natin, yung Pagbabago Campaign Project, in which nagbibigay ang OVP ng mga school supplies. No? Simpleng bagay ito, pero sa mga constituents natin, ang school supplies, napakalaking bagay na rin. So to date, meron nang nagbigay na 403,000 na mga school supplies. Another project that I also support is the Pansarap project, or the feeding program for severely wasted students. Alam natin, almost 20% of our students are malnourished. So to date, there are about 16,000 students that were fed by the Pansarap project. Another project that I find notable is the Kalusugan food truck, in which the OVP is also helping evacuees, yung mga tinamaan ng mga kababayan natin ng salanta, nasalantang mga kababayan natin. To date, they have already given 6,500 evacuees with feeding program and support. And another program that I find notable, yung RICE program, the Relief for Individuals in Crisis and Emergencies, nagbibigay ng bigas sa mga mahirap nating kababayan. Marami sa ating it's simpleng programa, pero napakahalaga dahil marami sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga nasa malalayong lugar, pumapasok ng eskwelahan ng gutom at hindi sila natututo. To date, 197,000 beneficiaries ang nabigay na ng RICE program ng ating butihing Vice Presidente, kasama ang kanyang mga kasamahan sa OVP. Alam ko marami pang mga programa, pero ito yung mga programa na para sa akin ay may kaugnayan sa edukasyon, at ang edukasyon ay isa sa mga mahalaga na advokasya natin, at ang ating Vice President bilang dating kalihim ng Department of Education, alam niya yung mga pangangailangan ng ating mga mag-aaral at mga estudyante. So I support all of these programs. So with that, we'll open the floor for manifestations. We'll start off with Senator Erwin Tulfo, who was here ahead of time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question now is, I noticed that from 942 million, binawasan po ito in-slash ng 902.8 million na lamang, nawala po yung 39.143 million. Ang tanong ko po ngayon, Mr. Chair, ano po mga proyekto o programa na maapektuhan po nito, ito pong slash po ng 39.143 million, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Attorney Sanchez.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, the amount that was not considered by the DBM only pertains to ICT equipment. So out of our original request, only a portion of that was included in the NEP. So we will just reprioritize the ICT equipment that we will procure, and will work within the budget that was provided in the NEP.
So, Mr. Chair, nabawasan po ito parang para sa ICT po ninyo. So, saan ho na manggagaling ngayon yung kailangan ninyong purchase for this purpose, Mr. Chair?
As mentioned, Mr. Chair, we will just review our requirements and prioritize based on the urgency of the ICT equipment that we need to procure. So some of the items will have to be deferred, or we may need to forgo some of the items, Mr. Chair.
Ano-ano po, Mr. Chair, mga bago existing programs ng OVP na popondohan po ng OVP this year? Kasi I noticed from 744.1 million po na budget ng 2025, you're asking for 902, pero nabanggit nga po ni VP kanina na mostly ay sa MOOE, mapupunta po 100 plus million po yata. Now, kaya ang tanong ko po ngayon, ano-ano po mga programs, existing programs, o mga bago na popondohan po ng OVP?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Basically, it would be the same programs that we are implementing this year in 2025. So we will just include additional provision for Magnegosyo Taday, because in 2025 we are only using the continuing appropriations from 2024. So part of the increase will also go to the procurement for disaster relief operations, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Chair, I notice also, ongoing po ba ito, Mr. Chair, itong OVP program activities, ito pong Al-Janaza Kit Assistance, tsaka Sympathy Flower Program, is this ongoing or is this new program of the OVP?
It's part of our ongoing programs, Mr. Chair. It used to be part of our medical and burial assistance program, but we are running it as a separate program now, because instead of giving monetary grants, we provide a kit, Al-Janaza kit, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just noticed, kasi po, like I have an office at Zamba Sultan, Zamboanga City. Yung mga kababayan po nating Muslim, pag may burial po, hindi naman po sila gumagamit na ataol, kundi naghihiram na lang po ng sasakyan, which I provided my office there in Zamba Sultan, Zamboanga City. Halos everyday po, hinihiram po ng mga kapatid nating Muslim para maisakay po yung bangkay, para mailibing. Pero maganda pong programa itong Al-Janaza Kit Assistance and Sympathy Flower Program. My last question, Mr. Chair, kung meron pong dapat i-prioritize ng committee na ito, ano po ang mga dapat dagdagan na pondo? Saan, Mr. Chair?
Ms. Sanchez, before you respond, let me recognize the presence of our Majority Leader, Senator Zubiri.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be the disaster relief operations. Since that is the second highest requested but assistance from the Office of the Vice President after the medical and burial assistance.
Alam nyo, kahit na anong senaryo, mahirap makakuha ng 16. At tatandaan natin yan, ang saligang batas, ang sinabi of all senators. So 24 po yan, kahit alsin nyo yung mga ayaw nyong pabotohin yung mga kung sino-sinong gusto nyong kasuhan, lalabas at lalabas, kailangan may 16. At pag minenos mo ng minenos ang total na 24, ay talagang hindi ka makaka-16. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung mathematics na ginagamit nila, kung may 4 na aalsin dahil sa kaso, paano ko makaka-16 dyan? So talagang pipilitin ng lahat. At pag nakita yan ng taong bayan, alam mo, sa aking pananaw, magiging tipping point yan ginagawa nilang mga extension at kung ano-anong offer. Kasi galit na ang taong bayan. Mas lalo niyong ginagalit dahil isang tao lang talaga ang project nyo sa nakaraan na 4 na taon.
Konti lang yung pagitan sa majority at minority, no? At meron pa akong narinig na interview sa dating tagapagsalita ng Senate Impeachment si Tito Soto at mas akma sa kasalukuyang liderato. Ano po masasabi niyo po dito, Prof?
Well, ako'y sumasang-ayon dyan. Yan ang aking column nung Martes na nakaraan na sinabi ko doon, oo, si Senate President Soto ay mahaba ang experience, malawak ang experience, pero ibang klase ang impeachment court. Sa impeachment court, ang presiding officer kailangan mag-decide, no? Napakahalaga diyan yung jurisprudence. Ano ba yung jurisprudence? Ito yung mga kaso na pwede mong kunan ng yaman sa pag-rule, no? Na basihan para sabihin, that is out of order, that is a wrong interpretation, we should probably consider it this way. Malaki ang nakita natin sa kasaysayan ng impeachment sa ating bansa. Si Senate President Nene Pimentel, abogado yon. Si Senate President JPE, and really, abogado yon. Nakita mo yung yaman ng literature nila to make a ruling. Yun ang kinokol ng presiding officer, that you are able to break the impasse, to intervene when necessary, and to rule. Ang ruling mo is based on jurisprudence. 'Di ba? So napakahalaga na abogado 'yan na umupo. Dahil ang vice presidente na nasa saligang batas, ang presiding officer ay ang Senate President. So napakahalaga. Si Senate President Soto, plano niya siya, magkakaroon ng impeachment manager na si Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Sa tingin ko yun ay admittance on his part na he really needs assistance. And how will you be able to rule kung yun ay manggagaling sa iba? So lahat subject, lalo na dito sa contentious na impeachment kayo, Vice President, yung ruling napakahalaga. Hindi pwede yung medyo padagilid-tagilid o medyo patawa-tawa. Hindi, napakaseryosong bagay ito. Kasi Vice Presidente yung ini-impeach. No? Sabi nga nung iba, gawin na lang daw na si Chief Justice. Kaso ang sasaligang batas ang naandon ang Senate President. So tama yan, nag-agree ako dyan. Kaya ginawa at kaya nakita ng mga colleagues niya na mahihirapan ang Senado. Sa majority nung una, iisa lamang ang senador. Yun ay si Senator Pangilinan. Sa minority dati, 4 ang abogado. So kailangan talagang, kung titingnan mo kasi yung institusyon kailangan yung institusyon, someone who can make a decisive ruling na hindi mag-aaway-away yung mga colleagues nila doon sa impeachment court. Kasi kung maging magkaroon ng internal struggle sa mga posisyon, ang ultimate arbiter, ang Senate President. Hindi siya bumoboto dahil boboto lamang siya kung may tie, pero napakahalaga ng kanyang mga rulings.
Opo, meron pang, baka kasi hindi rin iko-considera yung Chief Justice kasi meron ding hiling doon eh. Medyo abala sila, marami silang trabaho ngayon. Meron pa dito kay Bato at meron pa dito kay mga humiling na kini-question yung constitutionality dito sa impeachment nga ni VP Sara. Pero napag-uusapan na po ito. Sakali po na lumabas ito, anong nakikita nyo po mangyari? Kung paborable po dito po kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Ano ba to? Parang part 2 doon sa unang nilang nangyari. So, mabubura. Next year na naman. At kung next year ba, kung magfa-file sila ng impeachment, ano ba? Parang...
At mahirap na ang next year kasi malapit na tayo sa eleksyon. Yun ay kung may eleksyon, no? Pag nag-rule ang Korte Suprema na dismiss yung impeachment na yan, babalik tayo uli sa square one, no? At legitimate ang mga issues na dinala sa Korte Suprema, yung acceptance kay Madriaga, yung COA ruling being final, yung AMLA report, di ba? At saka yung conditional threat. So napaka-importante na hintayin natin ang Korte Suprema na mag-appreciate kasi nagbigay na sila ng unang ruling dun sa unang impeachment and apparently hindi pa rin sinunod ng House of Representatives yon. So talaga napaka-importante yon. So hindi dapat gigil ang Senado, tama ang ginawa ng Senado na ang unang hearing July para mabigyan ang Korte Suprema ng panahon to rule on it. Kasi pag nag-start na ang trial, may certain rights na makwe-question, mahirap mong i-dismiss ang impeachment court pag nagsimula yon. Lalong magkakagulo tayo. So, mas siguro dahan-dahan at maging kalmado at hintayin natin ang ruling ng Korte Suprema.
Opo. Meron pong panayam kay Senadora Amy Marcos. Meron siyang inilahad po, Prof, no? Maliban doon sa mga cash considerations, pangako na budget para doon sa mga pumirma. Meron pa siyang nabanggit na yung papahabain daw yung termino, magkakaroon daw ng pagpapalit ng konstitusyon. Tinanong nga siya, sino bang source mo? Sabi niya, yung kabilang sa mga meeting, marami daw mga secret meeting na naganap at seryoso yung kanyang aligasyon dito. Prof, tingin nyo, ano pang basa nyo po rito?
Alam mo, para mo makuha ang desisyon ng mga politiko, lalo na itong 19th at 20th Congress, nakikita naman natin talagang may carrot and stick, no? Carrot, incentivize, no? Nakita natin yon, iba-iba yung sinabi ni Senator Marcos. Stick, kaso, no? So makikita mo dito yung pag-extension. Nakakalungkot yun kasi extension ng term at pagtaas ng edad ng pwedeng tumakbo sa presidente. Kitang-kita mo naman na sa parehong panukala ay ayaw talagang hadlang kay Vice Presidente Duterte. Talagang takot na takot sila, no? Pero ako, nakakalungkot siyang in-offer as part of the incentive for you to vote. Kasi magagalit ang tao. No, isang tao lamang ang ayaw niyong makadesisyon tungkol sa politika at lahat na ng ahensya ng gobyerno ay ginagamit para siya'y sikilin at ilagay sa isang corner. Maling-mali yun, pero kung yan ang rason kung bakit pumirma ang karamihan, sa tingin ko, nanghina rin sila nung nakita nila ang pagpapalit sa Senado. Kasi ang ino-offer nila, mahirap yan matuloy kung walang 16 votes. At ganun rin sa pananaw ko, mayroon rin kumakalat na may ino-offer na tumakbo sa Vice Presidente si Senate President Cayetano sa administrasyon at meron rin sinasabi na yung ibang may kaso ay hindi nakakasuhan. Sa kagustuhan nilang ma-impeach si Vice President sa Senado. Alam nyo, kahit na anong senaryo, mahirap makakuha ng 16. At tatandaan natin,
I'm Peggy, a pilot.
nung gusto nyong kasuhan, lalabas at lalabas, kailangan may 16. At pag minenos mo ng minenos ang total na 24, ay talagang hindi ka makaka-16. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung mathematics na ginagamit nila, kung may 4 na aalsin dahil sa kaso, paano ka makaka-16 dyan? So talagang pipilitin ng lahat. At pag nakita yan ng taong bayan, alam mo, sa aking pananaw, magiging tipping point yan ginagawa nilang mga extension at kung ano-anong offer. Kasi galit na ang taong bayan. Mas lalo niyong ginagalit dahil isang tao lang talaga ang prino-project nyo sa nakaraan na 4 na taon.
Opo, kasi maraming mga maliban dito sa impeachment, alam natin malakas itong si Vice President Sara Duterte. Meron pa dong issue sa muling pagbubukas ng investigasyon. Itong dalawang issue ba na ito, Prof, ay napakahalaga na dapat nilang mapigilan talaga. Kasi dito nakasalala yung kanilang kinabukasan.
Oo, alam mo yung ako'y natutuwa sa desisyon ng kung sino ang magiging head ng Blue Ribbon. Tama na si Senator Pia just to hindi maging antagonizing ang lahat between Senator Marcoleta and Senator Lacson. Makikita mo na si Senator Pia is very clinical in her approach. Pero pag nabuksan niya ang Blue Ribbon na yan, yan ang napakahalaga sa taong bayan. Hindi yung impeachment eh. Para sa akin, napakahalaga ang Blue Ribbon dahil trilyon na pondo ng bayan ang nawala. At hanggang ngayon, hindi natin maintindihan sino ba talaga ang mastermind, no? So kung maipatawag ang lahat na dapat patawagin, kung makapagpadala si Congressman Ko ng kanyang sworn affidavit na may ginawa sa ating embahada, malaking bagay ito para once and for all matapos natin itong usapin na ito. Biro mo, mag-iisang taon na yung mahiya naman kayo campaign. Tapos anong nangyari? Hindi natin nakita ang report ng ICI, hindi natin nakita ang report ng partial report ng Blue Ribbon, kaya nga nagkaroon ang ruling ng kaso sa Korte Suprema at sinabi na dapat ipakita, 'di ba, hinihinga ng response si Senator Ping Lacson. So maraming itinatago sa atin na hindi yan tunay na accountability. So, pag pinagsabay mo yan, kung ang sinasabi, ang Senate hearing ng impeachment court ay July, hanggang June 4 ang sinidya nila, magsisimula ba si Senator Pia Cayetano ng Blue Ribbon, itong remaining days, no? Siguro, napaka-importante na malaman ng tao kung ano ang appreciation ni Senator Cayetano tungkol doon.
Alam naman natin noon, 2022 pa lang, na si Sara ay insurance policy ni BBM. Pero no, nakakala natin, diba kaya nga siyang pinipilit na tumakbong vice president. Dahil kung president si Marcos, pwede siyang ma-EDSA kaagad. So, kaya nila pilit na si Sara ang tatakbong vice president. Insurance policy si Sara. Pero at that time, we thought na kaya siya insurance policy dahil si Bongbong ay magsasagawa ng malaganapang reforma sa gobyerno. Kaso, hindi niya ginawa. Anong ginawa ni Marcos nung nanalo na siya? Ang ginawa niya, nakipagsabwatan siya sa mga magnanakaw. Is this something na conspiracy pa? Di ba lumabas na si Taberna? Kung ano ang sinasabi ni Maharlika noon na laganap ang korupsyon sa gobyernong Marcos since day one, bigla na ngayon magsasalita si Taberna, ganun na, yun nga talaga ang nangyayari.
Ano sa tingin mo dito kay Taberna? Ba't kaya nagsalita to? Kasi 'di ba, may pinalabas akong audio nila na usapan nila ni Lisa na pinagkaisa nila si Vic at naging katuwang siya ni Lisa na talagang
I
ano sa tingin
think,
mo?
I think itong si Taberna, totoo yung sinasabi niya ng malaganakan. So he is trying to acknowledge it, pero siguro ipipin down nila ang korupsyon kay Martin Romualdez. Kasi nga, di ba, nagkakagulo na rin sila sa loob.
Yes.
Kasi ang ika dyan, according sa very reliable source, kingpin ang demand ay half of the Marcos estate para i-impeach para i-solve na itong Davao problem. Ano ibig sabihin nito? I-impeach si Sara at ipakulong si Digong sa ICC.
Yeah.
Oh, half of the Marcos estate kasi nga nababawi na nila, nade-defrost na nila. Okay? Kung gusto ni Kingpin, half ang ibayad sa kanya at siyang gagawa lahat. Ano ngayon ang basa ko dito kay Taberna? Siguro, kasi di ba, kung papakinggan niyo mabuti ang statement ni Taberna, sabi niya, garapal ang korupsyon sa ilalim ng pamahalaan ni Bongbong Marcos. Pero ang sabi niya, yung commission daw ng mga senador at congressman. So parang, tapos bigla niyang hinimok na si Bongbong Marcos daw dapat may gawin, otherwise tinotolerate niya. So, anong focus doon? Yung Senado at Kongreso. So baka si Tambi ang ilalaglag kasi siya nga 'di ba siya nga ang parang pinikita nila na dahil kay Tambi naluloka ngayon ng administration. Magkakasabot naman yang lahat. So si Kingpin baka nandun din siya nakakamkam na siya ng bonggang-bongga o di aalis na lang siya, hindi ba? O bahala na kayo diyan, hindi ba? Pero ang pagkakamali doon ni Taberna, inumpisahan niya yung statement niya sa ilalim ng pamahalaan ni Bongbong Marcos.
So admission, na totoo lahat ang sinabi ni Maharlika. Natin.
Ikaw kasi since day one ka pa hindi ba? So ngayon, yung ginagamit nila na pang-attack dog sa'yo noon, dahil sinisita mo ang korupsyon,
nagsalita na rin ngayon.
Nagsasalita na rin na sobrang ang garapal ang korupsyon sa ilalim ng pamahalaan ni Bongbong Marcos. Sabi pa ni Anthony Taberna, you can quote me on this. We're quoting him.
Ang problema kasi dyan, di ba, kasabot nga siya ni Lisa dahil nag-fabricate nga yan ng mga address ko para mag-file ng case, di ba?
So ngayon, si BBM daw ay nagpadala ng message sa mga congressman, wag daw magpo-file ng impeachment laban kay Sara. Ewan ko kung totoo yan, pero yun ang pinost ni Taberna. Ang masasabi ko lang dyan is, again, insurance policy ni BBM si Sara. I think it's already out in the open na garapal ang korupsyon under sa pamahalaan ni BBM. So ngayon, bakit niya pinapapigil ang impeachment? Dahil kung mawala si Sara, anong gagawin ng Dilaw? Hunting season na ito, Marcos hunting season na ito, Ma'am Shi, ng Dilaw. Di ba? Silang pinakamalaking funding para makagawa ng regime change ang mga Dilaw. Ayaw, kaya nga di ba, pinipilit Trillanes, hindi, impeach yan si Sara. Yan ang gusto ni Trillanes, pero si BBM at the same sinasabi, huwag i-impeach. Ibig sabihin, kayong mga Dilaw, mga kamping, nabudol ang mga leaders ninyo ni Bongbong.
Nabudol kan lahat. At saka, isa yan sa sa in-expose ko, na yan talagang gagawin ni Bangag. Na kunwari, aawatin niya yung impeachment, katulad niyan by sending letters to this mga crooks dyan sa Senado at sa Congress, para magmukha siyang parang savior siya. Dahil sa kanya, parang may utang na loob pa kayo si Sara dahil hindi niya pinupush itong mga kongresista na to para mag-file ng impeachment. Isa yan sa in-expose ko dati.
Pero it doesn't make any sense, Ma'am Shi.
Yes, I know, right now.
Kasi lalo na, dineclare nyo na si Sarang national security threat. Ba't di mo papa-impeach?
Kaya nga hindi na nga uubra. Kaya nga hindi na nga uubra yan, yung kanyang pa-feeling na kunwari wala silang personal na attack kay Sara. Yun yung palabas nila.
Wala nang maniniwala.
Yun
kasi pag ginanyan nila yan, I'm pretty sure, kaya nga 2025 is very exciting kasi magkakaroon ng shifting of alliances. Hindi mo yung pina-impeach. I'm pretty sure dyan sa mga yellow may magsispill. Katulad nung kay Corona, di ba? May nag-spill nung impeachment ni Corona. Ang sanabi nung mga yon, nung mga kinasabwat nila Pinoy, binribe sila para i-convict si Corona. Hindi ba? May naggaganyanan. Gaganyan niya next year.
夏は40度を超える場面もあるので、水分補給だったり肌を守ったりっていうのを意識してやっています。汗もすごいかきやすいスポーツなので、その中で爽やかさを保ってくれるドライ EX の魅力かなと思います。普段でもいいですし、寝る時に着ても気持ちいいだろうし、常にドライな感じで気持ちよくずっと着てれるウェアですね。
nangangampanya siya, 2019 nangangampanya siya, 2022 nangangampanya siya. So parang bahala na kayo. That is now the problem of BBM. Ma'am Shi. Si Sara ay ayaw nang maging insurance policy. Ngayon, ayaw niyang pa-impeach. Eh di si Sara mananatiling Vice President. Ngayong Vice President si Sara, hindi mo na mapipigilan yung bibig niyan. Ilalabas niya na at ilalabas ang mga gusto niyang ilabas. So ano ngayon gagawin ng Dilaw? So habang si Sara nilalabas niya yung katiwalaan ng BBM administration, yung Dilaw, gusto niya ipapa-impeach, ano magmumukha yan sa ordinaryong tao? Kakampi niyo talaga si
Bangag. That's
Kasabot kayo sa korupsyon. Kaya si Sara, maganda yung ginawa niya, unexpected. No? Kasi tinutulak niya siya sa pader for the past 2 years. So ang ginawa ni Sara, itinulak niya silang lahat sabay-sabay sa pader. Ano ngayon ang gagawin ng Yelo? Nag-expose si Taberna, naggrabe ang korupsyon sa BBM administration. Yung mga nakikinig sa'yo na Dilaw at kakamping, marami rin yan, Ma'am Shi. Ano ngayon ang inyong pakiramdam na ang inyong liderato, si Sara ang gustong ipa-impeach, pero ang may kasalanan ng kagarapalang korupsyon sa gobyerno ay si BBM. Hindi ba kinakakalimutan?
So hindi pa ba malinaw dito sa mga palangga natin na mga dilawan na nagsanib puwersa? Ito nga, Bangag at yung mga inaasahan nilang mga dilawang leaders. Kasi we believe na itong mga supporters dito na hindi naman politiko o hindi naman inclined sa sa either not political personalities, just an ordinary citizen. Sana makikita nila yan o nakikita nila na inyong sinuportahan dati na kasama ninyo na nagmura dito sa mga Marcos Marcos kawatan, diktador lahat, ikakampi na nila. So, ano ang pakiramdam? Patuloy na lang ba kayong tatahimik? Actually, maganda nga tang nangyari dito, SAS, sa pag-expose, pag-statement nga ni Cardinal Advincola. Talagang kitang-kita yung corruption. Hindi lang tayo yung mga DDS na nagsasabi na dahil gusto natin si Sara over sa Marcos, kaya nagsasabi tayo na may corruption. Eto, nagsalita na si BCP, nagsalita na si Taberna, si Rowena Guanzon, very consistent. Diba? Very consistent.
Napakalinaw naman ang sinabi ni Taberna. Sabi niya, kung wala daw gagawin si BBM sa korupsyon na ito, ibig sabihin tinetolerate niya. Wait a second, 3 years nangyayari. Hindi alam ni Marcos na nangyayari. Tapos sasabihin mo, kailangan may gawin siya para masabi hindi niya tinetolerate. 3 years! So ibig sabihin, 3 years niyang yung sitwasyon na ngayon na naging garapal, tinolerate niya. Lalala ba yan kung hindi niya tinotolerate? Ma'am Shi, ikaw nga, napakasimpleng bagay, hindi ba?
Si Taberna nagmamaang-maangan pa yan eh. At the moment na pinayagan niya si Liza na mag-decide kung sinong i-appoint para mag-smuggle, alam ni Marcos Jr. Doon nga sa book ni Attorney Vic, na sinasabi ni Attorney Vic doon, na gustong, hindi pa nag-o-oath, okay? Hindi pa nag-inaugurate si Bangag. Pinupush na ni Liza na iupo si Mel Robles, iupo si Michael Ma, at ayaw nga yan aprobahan ni Attorney Vic dahil hindi qualified at dahil sa mga previous involvement sa corruption, nakiusap si Martin Romualdez na pati kay Altenco na 1 year lang to at pinupush talaga ni Liza. So malabo yan, Taberna, na sinasabi mong nakananawagan ka kay BBM na gumawa siya ng action dahil sa talamak na corruption. That's
yung Okada pangalan Yung Okada pangalan na first 100 days, hindi niya alam. Paano hindi niya alam? Kasabwat doon ng DOJ.
Yes, at paano hindi alam ni Bangag? SARS, nandoon din siya sa Okada. Si Marcos Jr.
Asa na ba yung video na yan?
Kasi sabi ko nga, di ba si Inday nagsalita na yung video doon sa envelope. Sabi ko nga kanina, baka naman kailangan pa mag-hire ng rolling billboard. Baka yung mga video isalansan doon sa EDSA.
Hindi rin naman natin kung anong topak ni Sara, kung paano niya ilalabas yung video na yan.
Diba?
Sinasabihan ko na sila, last year pa, huwag yung gagawin yan kay Sara dahil pag napuno kay Sara, magtago na kayo. Last year ko pang sinasabi yan, ma'am.
True.
Last year, napaalala, sinusulat ko, huwag yung tigilan nyo yan dahil pag napuno yan si Sara, magtago na kayo. Ngayon na nagbili na siya, paano na?
Kaya nga natataranta na sila kung paano nila ampatin. Di ba? So, no way out na, tsaka no reconciliation. Kaya nga ngayon, hindi nila alam kung anytime, baka ilabas nga ni Sara yung mga video, yung Okada video, yung envelope video, kaya kaabang-abang. So, kaya nga nagkaaway-away na sila ngayon dyan sa loob, maliban dyan sa punyetang assets na, sana maggurgura na lang sila, no? SAS?
Magugurguran yan. Di ba sinabi nga ni Sara na hinayaan nyo na lang sana akong magtrabaho? Nag-gets nyo? Ayan na nga, okay na nga sa dyan aware si Sara, nagnanakaw kayo. Pero, ginawa nyo siyang punching bag. Ginawa nyo siyang pang-cover up ng pagnanakaw ninyo. Hindi nyo ba napapansin tuwing may expose laban dito sa bangag na to, si Sara ang biglang titirahin. Oh,
Yes.
nung Love the Philippines video, nung nilabas ko yan, anong ginawa
Yes.
nila? Biglang, ay, may Sara. Oh, nung inilabas ko ang liquidation by certification, si Sara na naman. Nung inilabas ko ang Duran-Duran, recently lang ito, di ba? Nag-double up
Sara.
sila dyan sa impeachment, sa Congress. Yan ang problema. Ginagawa niyong si Sarang punching bag. Hindi na nakatiis yung ate natin. Hindi nakatiis
Yes.
yung ate natin dahil bakit ba hindi niyo na lang siya kayaang magtrabaho? Hindi nga siya nagsasalita sa korupsyon na nangyayari sa gobyerno nung nandiyan pa siya, nung nasa kabinete pa siya. Dahil gusto lang magtrabaho nung ate natin. Hindi niyo siya hinayaang magtrabaho. Diba? Hinayaan na nga niya yung mga pagnanakaw niyo dyan, na nahimik na siya, hindi nga yan nakikipag-usap sa atin eh.
Yes,
Wala
yan ang ipag-usap sa amin. No?
Kaya nga kami na-imbierna, hindi man na-imbierna kami kay Sara dahil ang tahimik ayaw magsalita. Kami na na-imbierna. Di ba? Ikaw na nagsasabi, oy Sara, magsalita ka na dyan.
Sara, like, kinukulit ko si Inday, di ba?
Ayaw, hindi nagsasalita si Sara. Dahil gusto
Tama.
lang ni Sara, hayaan na lang siya ng trabaho.
Tama ka, Sas. Alam mo kung bakit? Yung sa envelope na yan, di ba? Bago alam na ni Inday. Talagang hinayaan na lang niya na magnakaw. Pinuno na siya eh. Siguro hindi na maalala ni Lisa Tanas kung ano-ano yung mga sinend niya in the past. Kasi di ba ang hilig niya sa video na yan? Hindi niya na matandaan yan. Dahil kasi sabog siya lagi eh. Hindi niya alam na i-save pala ni Inday. O nakalimutan niya na yan. Dahil bangag yan si Lisa eh. Eh ano ngayon? Kaabang-abang ngayon yung envelope video na yan.
Hindi niyo tinigilan. Hindi niyo siya tinigilan. Binaboy niyo. Ang sabi pa naman sa amin niya ni Digong noon. Sa lahat ng ibabato niyo kay Sara, huwag corruption. Iyang si Sara mas grabe, sabi ni Digong, mas grabe daw yan sa pag-corruption ng usapan.
Issue.
Talagang si Sara talaga. No
Ay,
talaga siya.
Nakita mo naman siya, di ba? Yung in-reveal niya na during the campaign, nung nasa eroplano sila ni Martin Romualdez, na sinasabi ni Tambaloslos na ayaw maglabas ng pera ni Bangag at ni Lisa. Di ba? Tapos ano sabi ni Inday Sara? O lahat ng pera ko lahat ng gustong mag-donate sa akin sa campaign, iyon na yan, kunin mo na yan. At ano sabi ni Romualdez? O sige, ginawa niya, di ba? Sige, babawiin na lang natin yan. At pag nanalo na tayo. So ang in-expect ni Sara, babawiin through business. Yung pala, babawiin sa pera ng bayan.
Saka itong si Sara, may dugong Maranao yan. Ang mga Maranao, pag personal honor na ang usapan,
Hindi ka tatantanan yan.
hindi kita tatandaan. Personal honor yan eh. Iningatan ni Sara yan eh. Ng ano niya eh. Di ba nga nung naging mayor yan, ang ginawa niya, pinagtatanggal niya yung mga empleyado ng tatay niya sa City Hall. Ayaw kasi niya yung may pakiusap. Tinanggal niya yung mga empleyado ng tatay niya diyan. Kaya hindi lahat ng tao gusto si Sara, lalo yung mga pinagtatanggal kasi nga talagang nawalan sila ng emerald, no?
Oo.
Talaga yan.
Nawalan ng gatas.
O sabi nga ni Digong, kung si Digong daw papadala ng regalo, di ba? Papadala mo ng regalo. Yung pag-grease. Digong, sasabihin, ibalik mo yan. Ganyan daw si Digong. Pero si Sara daw, may sulat pa.
May
May
nakalaki na
sulat letter pa na according to the ganyan. Talaga,
Buti hindi pinapalunok doon sa nagbigay.
ang pinaglalaban. Ba siya o hindi? Ang Dilaw, sina Trillanes gustong ipa-impeach. Ba't gusto nila ipa-impeach? Malamang sa kanila ipinangako ang vice presidency.
Yes.
Pagkatapos nila maging vice president, magpupush sila ng regime change. Yan na naman ang taktika ng mga Dilaw, Mamshi. Hindi ba? Mas mahirap patumbahin ang Duterte kaysa sa Marcos. Kaya
True.
totoo yan, mahirap patumbahin ang Duterte kaysa sa Marcos. Kaya ang inuuna nila, Duterte. Una muna nila yan. Pag wala na si Duterte, madali nang magkakarambol ang Marcos. As simple as that.
Kasi nga, yung institusyon namin at yung tiwala ng mamamayan sa Senado na desecrate Lahat para sa isang tao na ayaw humarap sa batas. So, oo, isa ako sa 5 na pumirma sa resolusyon na pinangunahan ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan nung nakaraang linggo pa na inuudyok siya na sumuko sa ating mga otoridad at hanapin ang lahat ng legal remedies niya sa ilalim ng konstitusyon at mga batas at rules natin. Sobra din akong nalulungkot, nagagalit, nahihiya sa tao. Historic law ito sa bayan natin at yung Senado, yung People's House, kung saan ginagawa yung batas, pinaglalaban yung karapatan at kapakanan ng taong bayan, naging shooting range. So talagang, at kami mga senador, sabi ko nga, stewards lang kami ng Senado dahil ito ang talagang, kumbaga may-ari nito ay ang mamamayang Pilipino. Hindi namin yan bahay para angkinin o gawing taguan o hayaan na, yun na nga, gawing eksena ng baril-barilan. So talagang gagawin namin ng lahat bumawi sa harap ng ating mga kababayan at sa harap ng kasaysayan. Ang dakilang kasaysayan ng Senado. Sang-ayon talaga ako kay Senator Sherwin. And talagang nung nakaraang linggo, nalungkot talaga ako na nakaramdam ako na, oh my God, nitong nakaraang dekada na nagtrabaho ako dyan sa Senado, kahit pa sa worst years nung nakaraan, at least para sa akin ang Senado ay safe space kasi doon kami nagtatrabaho. Kaya hindi ko talaga matanggap na nagkaroon ng mga armado na may heavily armed, nagkabarilan doon. At pagpasok nga ngayong linggo, pinakiramdaman ko yung kalooban ko. At least nanunumbalik yung sense of security. At saka yung intention at yung desire na ibalik yung ganyang pakiramdam at paningin ng lahat ng ating mga kababayan. Kasi ang dami naming staff doon, yung mismong mga security group doon, yung ating media. Oh my God, talagang nag-file pa ako ng resolution para i-launch
may resolution
yung Senate
Senator.
media na nag-cover Senate Resolution number 400 para sa mga nag-cover ng shooting. Kasi kailangan magbigay-pugay kami sa kanila, sa mga kasama nyo sa Senado dahil yung professionalism nila, yung katapangan nila na mag-cover sa gitna ng putukan dahil ipinakita pa rin nila sa ating bayan kung anong nangyari. In real time, talagang essential pillars sila para sa katotohanan. Lalo na ngayong panahon ng disinformation. Yan ang pwedeng magpanumbalik ng buong pakiramdam ng kapanatagan ng loob. Again, babalikan ko yung sinabi ni dating Senate President Tito Soto nung tinanong siya before last week na he served at the pleasure of his peers, kami-kami. He served under the Constitution, dinagdag pa niya, he served under God. So kaming 11 sa minorya na solid, nakatutok talaga kami sa patuloy na pagsabi ng totoo at pagtugon sa mata. Itong lahat ng issue, di ba? Mataas na presyo ng langis, kuryente at ibang bilihin, paglaban sa korupsyon at malapit na rin magsimula yung talakayan sa national budget. So tuloy po kami sa paninindigan para sa gobyernong nakatutok sa tao. At speaking of tao, gusto kong sabihin, di tayo tumiklop noon, di tayo titiklop ngayon. There is always a way and there is always hope. Mapamayorya man o minorya, sanay naman tayong lumaban para sa tama. And we will continue to strive and adapt kasi nga, been there, done that. So, yun po yung aming disposisyon sa ngayon. Well, naintindihan ko po yung pakiramdam ng ating mga kababayan at sana naman kahit nakatutok ang atensyon nila sa mga panahong ito na masyadong makulay at salamat po sa kanilang pagmamalasakit sa amin. Pero I'm sure hindi rin nila nalilimutan yung maraming ngang mga batas na naipasa na namin na at dapat yun ang aming pagpatuloy ngayon yung para sa kalusugan ng mamamayan, para sa ating mga kababaihan, Miss Doris, para sa electoral reforms at lahat pa na doon nakatutok dapat yung aming committee system. Kahapon din lang ay pina-amend ko po yung anti-hospital detention bill. So tuloy-tuloy po yung efforts namin na isulong yung ganyang mga panukala. Tuloy-tuloy yung efforts namin na isagawa at tapusin yung mga importanteng investigasyon. At yun na nga po, naghahanda kami pareho para sa budget debate sa mga susunod na buwan. At ngayon, para sa nasimulan ng impeachment trial. So hindi po namin nalilimutan yon at sana nakikita pa rin yun ng ating mga kababayan. Napaka-harsh na salita nila sa isa't isa. So bahala sila sa kanilang desisyon. Pero yan din ang importanteng prinsipyo. Bawat isa sa amin sa Senado at pinangahawakan namin yan dito sa aming minorya ay nagdedesisyon, pumipili at naninindigan ayon sa aming paniniwala kung ano ang tama para sa ating mga mamamayan. So ako panatag na panatag ang loob ko sa aking desisyon At ewan ko ba kung bakit tingin ni Senator Dante ay kailangan pa niyang magbabala ng ganyan. Siguro magandang matanong din siya.
We've been calling the Vice President every after presentation of evidence per ground. So in as far as compliance to due process is concerned, I think we have surpassed no? As a matter of fact, even today, we've called her for 4 times already. And I intend to call her again right before we vote on the existence or non-existence of probable cause. That is just for the record.
On the issue of due process, may I further elucidate? The Supreme Court has elucidated actually in the case of Duterte versus House of Representatives, GR number 27853, July 25, 2025, speaking through Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, quote, "Due process is anchored on fairness and equity. It is flexible and context-dependent, shaped by the circumstances, subject matter, and necessities of the situation. At its core, due process requires notice, hearing, and a fair opportunity to be heard." Fair opportunity to be heard. Ang lahat ng mga elementong ito ay malinaw na ipagkaloob sa respondent dito sa impeachment proceedings na ito. Una, ang respondent ay nabigyan ng abiso hinggil sa mga pagdinig at nabigyan din ng mga kopya ng mga dokumento at mga isinubiting ebidensya sa komiteng ito. Ikalawa, nagsagawa ang komite ng ilang magkahiwalay na pagdinig kung saan pinayagan ang presentasyon ng ebidensya at testimonya ng iba't ibang resource persons. Ikatlo, at higit sa lahat, ang respondent ay paulit-ulit na binigyan ng pagkakataon na dumalo, harapin ang mga ebidensya at mapagpaliwanag o magpaliwanag o sumagot sa mga paratang laban sa kanya. At sa bawat yugto ng prosesong ito, siya ay binigyan ng makabuluhang pagkakataon na marinig. In Gas Corporation of the Philippines versus Minister Inchong, GR number 186502, December 13, 2017, the Supreme Court explained that there is no denial of due process when a party is afforded the right to rebut the evidence against him or her but fails to exercise the same. What matters is that the opportunity to present his or her side of the case is given. If for reasons best known only to himself or herself, a party does not avail of his right to do so, then he has only himself or herself to blame. In this case, ang hindi pagdalo po ng respondent sa kabila ng paulit-ulit na pagkakataon ay hindi maituturing na paglabag sa due process. Rather, it reflects a voluntary decision not to avail of the opportunities made amply available by this committee. Nasaan po siya ngayon? Nasa San Pedro daw. And then di ho ba ay meron din tayong, meron nabalita rin na meron siyang balak uli na umalis ng bansa. Meron siyang hininging travel clearance from the Office of the President. So wala talaga siyang intensyon na mag-cooperate o magpakita sa pagdinig na ito. As the court has consistently ruled, notably in Salandanan versus Court of Appeals, GR number 127783, June 5, 1998, quote, "The law aids the vigilant, not those who slumber on their rights." It's not even just a slumbering on their rights, but it is an open defiance of what is happening here in the impeachment
Come
proceedings.
closer to the microphone, please.
Open defiance po sa atin na wala siyang respeto sa ating proceedings. Given that the committee has already received sufficient evidence, heard from relevant resource persons, and repeatedly extended to the respondent the opportunity to be heard, I respectfully submit that due process has been fully satisfied. I further manifest that there is no compelling reason to extend the period of hearings for the determination of probable cause.
Madam Chair, we have given so many chances for Vice President Duterte to explain and present her side regarding the impeachment complaints filed against her. Pero wali. Consistently absent siya talaga. Ginoghost niya tayo paulit-ulit. Hindi man tayo ang korte na maghahatol sa mga isinampang impeachment complaint laban sa kanya, may napatunayan tayo. Ang kanyang tahasang hindi pag-attend, hindi pag-cooperate, at hindi pagsagot sa mga imbitasyon ay malinaw na pambabastos sa democratic processes at constitutional processes ng ating pong impeachment na ito.
Enjoy competitive odds and lots of free bets. Bet 88, all your favorite sports, all in one place. Bet 88, your ultimate playground.
In these hearings are no joke. To the words of the Vice President, no joke, no joke. Huwag na ho tayong magsayang pa ng araw para sa taong hindi naman tayo sisiputin. Bakit natin bibigyan ng makeup class kung mahilig naman mag-cutting classes? Nailatag na rin naman ang mga dokumento at salaysay na nagpapatibay na may probable cause o sapat na batayan. Para mag-proceed sa next step na impeachment process, magdesisyon na po tayo. We believe that her avenue to explain is no longer with the House of Representatives, but with the Senate already. Something that she has, Harry Camp said time and again. Doon na siya sa Senado magpaliwanag. No more chances for her in this committee. Not next week, not anymore. Tama na po ang spirit of the glass. Maraming salamat, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sendanya. Any other manifestation?
Madam Chair. There are
The
no more
Honorable-
manifestations, Madam Chair. Let's proceed.
With all due respect, Honorable Lawrence Defensor, we are recognizing the Honorable Chel Jokno and then the Honorable Sara Ilago.
No problem.
I hope we can proceed to reach a consensus, or if we need to vote after Congresswoman Sara Ilago. You're recognized, Honorable Jokno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kanina po ay hindi kami nagkasundo ni Kong Laila de Lima dun sa pagbubukas ng kahon. Pero ngayon po ay agree na po ako pagdating dito sa pagboboto natin as far as probable cause
Together
is concerned.
again.
Yes. Madam Chair, nakita na natin lahat at hindi lang naman yung mga miyembro ng committee kundi ang taong bayan. Ang narinig natin ang testimonya ng mga resource persons, nakita din natin yung lahat ng mga dokumento at video na authenticated ng iba't ibang mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan. We have seen the evidence at higit sa lahat, nabigyan na rin natin ng sapat na pagkakataon si Vice President Sara Duterte na humarap at ibigay yung kanyang panig. Despite the repeated notices, despite the repeated opportunities for the Vice President to participate in these proceedings, ay dinedma po niya ang Committee on Justice. At hindi lang ang Committee on Justice ang dinedma niya ang taong bayan, dinedma niya ang ating buong bansa. I think it's time that we already vote on probable cause. Kasi kung ayaw po naman niya magpakita sa House, walang problema. Karapatan naman niya yon, pero dapat ay marinig natin siya sa Senado. Kaya kay VP Sara, doon na po kayo magpaliwanag sa Senado. Bilang pangalawang Pangulo dito sa ating bansa, ay may pananagutan kayo sa taong bayan na naghahanap ng katotohanan. Harapin niyo ang kaso, wag na po kayong umilag. We will see you in court, the impeachment court.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sigurado, it's one of the toughest portfolios to hold in government, pero nakikita ko po concurrent yon sa pagiging VP. So, hiwalay pa po yung primary mandates ng DepEd, which I'll ask in the other hearing later, but may iba pa pong primary mandates yung Office of the Vice President. So, at least initially, nakikita ko yung primary mandates ng office nyo in support of the mandates and the programs of the Office of the President. I hope, Mr. Chair, dahil pangalawang taon na ito ng panunungkulan ni VP, at least in the next budget hearings, we can hear more specific and distinct mandates of the OVP kaysa lamang in support of yung mandates ng OP. Ngayon naman po, Madam VP, Mr. Chair, the Office of the Vice President has been allocated confidential funds amounting to 500 million pesos. according to Joint Circular Number 2015-01 issued by the COA, DBM, DILG, CGC, GCG, and DND, confidential funds refer to those expenses related to surveillance activities in civilian government agencies that are intended to support the mandate or operations of that agency. So, una pong tanong dito, Madam Vice President, which mandates of the Office of the Vice President will be supported by the aforementioned allocation of the confidential funds, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, all of the projects of the Office of the Vice President use the confidential funds that is intended for the safe, secure, and successful implementations of programs, projects, and activities and engagements of me and all the satellite offices, including the central office of the Office of the Vice President.
Salamat kayo, Madam VP. Kanina po sabi nyo yung primary mandates ng office nyo in the next 6 years would be in support of the primary mandates of the OP. So, alin po sa mga primary mandates na yon, as you conceive them in support of the primary mandates of the OP, alin sa mga primary mandates na yon ang masusuportahan or specifically gagastusan ng confidential funds na i-allocate ng Kongreso sa office nyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the constitutional mandate of the Office of the Vice President is only to be a reserve, a bench warmer, in the event of, I do not want to mention it, but in the event that the President cannot discharge his functions. That is the constitutional mandate of the Office of the Vice President. Apart from that, all the other projects of the Office of the Programs, Projects, and Activities of the Office of the Vice President will depend largely on the decision and discretion of the incumbent elected Vice President. So for my term, we decided on 3 permanent projects: the charter, the museum, and the permanent office and residence of the Office of the Vice President. And then we took on the projects that made the most impact when I was mayor of Davao City. These are the entrepreneurship program, the peace building in communities, the Pagbabago advocacy campaign. We added the Pagbabago A Million Trees for in support of the mandate of the DNR. And then we have the Pansarap program in support of the Department of Health and the Department of Education. And then we created the Disaster Operations Center in support of NDRIMC and all those local governments who are asking for help from the Office of the Vice President when there are calamities or emergencies in their localities. And the buses donated to me, I lent to the Office of the Vice President to support the Libreng Sakay program of the national government. In addition to that, I discharge the functions and the duties of the Secretary of the Department of Education. And in addition to that, I was tasked by the President to co-chair the National Task Force on Ending Local Communist NTF-ELCAC. And in addition to that, I also took on the role of President of the Southeast Asian Ministers, Education Ministers Organization, SIMEO. And all of these activities.
You taste like summer peach, sticky hands and softest speech, dripping down my sleeve. Don't wipe it, let it breathe. If kissing's all we ever reach, I'm okay with just this peach. Like summer peach, sticky hands and soft.
Yung peace building, yung Pansarap, yung Million Trees, yung pagbabago advocacy, yung Disaster Operations Center, yung libreng sakay, and yung binanggit nyong 3 permanent projects, the permanent office, the VP's Museum, and the Omnibus Law or Charter. Bawat isa sa mga ito gagastusan ng confidential funds ng opisina nyo?
Yes. Mainly, the confidential funds, as I said, is for the safe, secure, and successful implementations of the programs, projects, and activities and engagements of the Office of the Vice President.
Go ahead, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. In addition, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, in addition, there are times when the President is on official trips, travel abroad. I chair the executive committee, which is the caretaker of the Office of the Vice President. This is an additional dagdag trabaho sa lahat ng mga trabaho na na-mention ko po.
Of course, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice President, yung ibang items na binanggit ni Madam VP na gagastusan di umano ng confidential funds, specifically ng OVP, tulad ng sa DepEd, sa NTF-ELCAC, sa CIMEO, pati yung Executive Committee pag wala si Presidente, malamang sa hindi, may sariling confidential funds na hindi na ginagastusan ng confidential funds na hinihingi ng Office of the Vice President. So, Madam Chair, VP, Mr. Chair, furthermore, the joint circular I cited provides that confidential funds can only be used for a limited range of purposes, such as the rental of transport activities related to confidential activities. So in broad terms po, saang mga activities na enumerated sa joint circular gagamitin yung confidential funds? Just to refresh our memory, dun po sa 2015 joint resolution na yon, confidential funds can only be used for the following expenses: purchase of information necessary for the formulation and implementation of programs, activities, and projects relevant to national security and peace and order, rental of transport vehicles related to confidential activities, rentals and the incidental expenses related to the maintenance of safe houses, purchase or rentals of supplies, materials, and equipment for confidential operations that cannot be done through regular procedures without compromising the information gathering activity concerned, payment of rewards to informers, and uncovering and preventing illegal activities that pose a clear and present danger to agency personnel or property or other facilities and resources under the agency protection, done in coordination with appropriate law enforcement agencies. So, saang mga activities po na ito enumerated sa joint circular ay gagastusan ng confidential funds ng office nyo, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, it varies. Not all the activities are the same for each day and each month. The liquidation of the confidential funds includes the enumeration of the use the Office of the Vice President. The confidential funds report, the joint memorandum circular requires the confidential fund report submission to the Office of the Vice President, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the Commission on Audit. And we submitted the list of activities to these offices.
Thank you, Madam VP. Mr. Chair, I'll get to the liquidation end report also later. So just to clarify, Madam VP, since confidential funds refer to those agencies related to surveillance activities undertaken by civilian government agencies, ibig po bang sabihin na yung opisina ninyo will be gathering intelligence on certain subjects or entities in support sa inyong mandates o mga operasyon, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, that is correct. As an example, we did surveillance of complaints from constituents in Bulacan with regard to the selling of OVP assistance and the selling of tupad projects in Bulacan. And there was a surveillance operation that was run by the VP SPG for about a month, and we were able to apprehend the person, and we were able to successfully prosecute the case, and that person went to jail for ilang months?
6 months.
For 6 months. So that is an example of the surveillance activities that is conducted by the VP SPG for the projects and activities of the Office of the Vice President. It was in Bulacan.
Salamat kaayo, Madam VP. I ask this because the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency was established to direct, coordinate, and integrate national intelligence activities. And this includes the collation of intelligence gathered from various sources. So we'd like more information as to the intelligence operations of the OVP. Sa aling mga sources maggagather ng impormasyon yung OVP? Kukuha ba kayo ng intelligence mula sa ating mga existing intelligence services tulad ng NICA o tulad ng DND at PNP?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, no. Intelligence starts with the communities and the stakeholders, and then if there are complaints, and then it is built up through intelligence and surveillance services, and then a dossier or a report is started, and then it goes through levels through the Office of the Vice President and VP SPG. So we do not seek intelligence reports from other government agencies, but the intelligence reports starts from the ground in the communities that that are engaged by the Office of the Vice President.
Salamat kayo, Madam VP. Actually, I'll get to that process also in a bit. Dahil meron pong established na intelligence cycle at meron pong established na chain of command for the intelligence activities ng ating gobyerno at ng ating republika. And sa pagkaalam ko po, walang hiwalay na chain of command for Intel ang OVP. In fact, ang susunod kong tanong how can your honorable office, paano nyo po maa-assure yung mga miyembro nitong komite na yung collection ng intel ng inyong opisina hindi magre-resulta sa redundancy or duplication of effort?
There is no redundancy and duplication of effort because we have different mandates from the other government agencies.
Indeed, Mr. Chair, Madam VP, different mandates. And kanina, nilista nyo na po yung iba't ibang mandates ng OVP. Meron din pong klarong at complementary mandate ang intelligence community ng gobyerno sa ating bansa. And as I had been saying since last year's budget debate,
Struggling to get traffic? You're missing out on the world's most powerful platform, TikTok. Get 28,200 Philippine pesos TikTok ads credit. No more worrying about low traffic. TikTok's billion-strong active user pool helps your business quickly find targeted audiences. Claim today.
Sinathreaten yung operations ng OVP.
Just to inform
Yes,
the
Mr. Chair.
good Deputy Minority, just 2 minutes left. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Halos tamang-tama po. I just have 4 last questions after this one. At kung maubusan ng oras, I can put the last 2 or so questions on record para sa OVP and the good chair. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Yes, the confidential funds is used for the safe, secure, and successful implementations of the projects, programs, and activities and engagements of the Office of the Vice President.
Sino po yung subjects? Ano yung intentions at capabilities ng mga subjects? At paano tinetrete ng mga subjects na to yung mga operasyon ng OVP?
This is for the successful safe, secure, and successful implementation of the projects, programs, and activities and engagements of the Office of the Vice Presidents. If the question is the subjects on who are the sources, we cannot divulge who are the sources of intel information. We can just say that these are the stakeholders in the areas where there are engagements of the Office of the Vice President.
Hindi po sources, Madam VP, pero yung mga taong o grupong ginagatheran nyo ng opisina nyo ng intelligence.
Yes, those that are perceived to be threats in the successful, safe, and secure implementation of the PPAs.
Salamat, Madam VP. Mr. Chair, I'll need to follow up.
I'll give me my 5 minutes.
Oh, salamat, Mr. Chair. Salamat, Madam VP, Mr. Chair. I'll need to pursue that in greater detail than is being made available right now. Doon na lang po sa plenary. Madam VP, paano po ire-recruit ng OVP at ite-train yung mga intelligence operatives at agents na kakailanganin ng office para i-gather yung impormasyon para sa intelligence collection plan? Hanggang saang extent magre-rely ang OVP sa HUMINT at sa CGINT para sa information collection requirements ng office?
Again, with your permission,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
just want to acknowledge Senator Jingoy Estrada, also Committee Vice Chair, as well as Senator Bato de la Rosa, also a Committee Vice Chair. Good morning, Your Honors. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the Vice Presidential Security and Protection Group coordinate with the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Unfortunately, however, the commander of the VP SPG is not present here this morning.
Salamat kayo, Madam VP. So, dun sa sagot na ang VP SPG coordinates with the PNP and AFP, ibig po bang sabihin ang OVP ang magre-recruit and train na mga operatives at ahente, or yung PNP at AFP ang magte-train sa mga operatives at ahente ng OVP?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, unfortunately, I cannot answer the question. The commander of the VP SPG, we failed to include him in the list of the resource persons this morning.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Maybe we can, if you can put your questions in writing, we could submit it to the Office of the Vice President, and maybe, if possible, if they, because some of these matters are quite sensitive, so you can give them in executive session, or you can give them in a sealed envelope in writing. That's at your pleasure, Madam Vice President. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we can easily do that. We can ask them to submit to the Secretariat of this committee.
Salamat kayo, Madam VP, and salamat